do me a favor, everybody. Hit like on the video. It's Burn It Down with Kim Brown. We do this every Tuesday and Friday, 7 p.m. Thumbs up on the video, subscribe to the channel, follow us places around the internet at BIDWKB. So I came across this clip today, and it was from a public hearing being held, I believe, on the big island of Oʻahu in Hawaii. That's so annoying. Why are the people gathering in Oahu for public meetings about environmental impacts? Well, as you guys know, Hawaii was annexed by the United States government in 1898. It formally became a state in 1959. Whole time the Hawaiians have been saying to the Americans, "Can you please get the fuck out? Can y'all please pack y'all shit and get the fuck out," right? Whole time. Now, what Hawaii also is a strategic point for the US military's Pacific operations, right? We know Pearl Harbor is there. That's where the Japanese bombed that got the US formally into World War II. But there has been there's a Marine base there, Army base. There's a lot of shit down there in Hawaii. And the military does a lot of real world drilling. For a long time, they were actually even doing war exercises using live ammunition. And the Hawaiians on the island have been saying that all of these munitions, all of this weapons testing, I think they had even tested some uranium based weapons in Hawaii. The Hawaiians have been saying, you have been polluting our island. You have been our islands. You have been polluting the water, the soil, the air, the plants, the animals. You have been polluting all of this with your weapons of war and your training for war. Now, what I did just discover is that the United States military, I think this is specifically the Army, but the US military, the Pentagon, has been leasing thousands, tens of thousands of acres of Hawaiian land. And they were able to do so for the low sum of $1. So it turns out that the United States Army's land lease in Hawaii expires in just a few short years, and that the Army is trying to extend those land leases because it argues that Hawaii and these military bases are so critical for training of real world war theater kind of operations, right? So I want us to take a look. Let's see, where shall we begin here? Well, let's go with that Hawaii News Now piece, even though it says Hawaii News app, but I think it's Hawaii News Now. And the Army is trying to convince the people that they are now sensitive to the quote environmental justice needs of the Hawaiian folks, and that they're going to do better and like be better. Like, if you let us lease this land again and let our Marines and our infantry train here on your island, you know, we promise we won't pollute as much. We'll try to keep, you know, all the bullets and uranium. We'll keep that shit, you know. We'll knock that down just a smidge if it'll shut y'all up. But let's try to get caught up on this story. So let's go ahead and check out the piece from Hawaii News Now.
Should the U.S. Army give back 2,000 acres of state land that it's been leasing for decades?
It's one of several options up for discussion over several nights of public meetings. Our Mahealani Richardson joins us now with the latest. Well, Stephen Kiahi, the Army's leases were signed in 1964 for $1 to the state and expire in 2029. Now, over 3 nights, the Army wants to hear from the public on its draft environmental impact statement, and it's sure to get an earful. It has a designated free speech section outside the meetings for protests.
The U.S. government leases about 6,300 acres of land from the state at the Mākua Military Reservation, Kahuku Training Area, and Kawailoa Poamoho Training Area near Schofield Barracks. In its draft environmental impact statement, the Army looks at 3 alternatives. 1, retaining all of the land, 2, retaining most of it, and thirdly, retaining only 162 acres in Mākua while giving up Kahuku and Poamoho.
What that tells us is that they don't need these training areas, and that they can actually easily let these leases sunset and take no action. The people here of Oʻahu, we need them more.
But the Army says its preferred option is to retain roughly 66% of the land at all 3 sites.
The Army has really taken a very deliberate and thoughtful look at the parcels that are currently being used to understand and to be very deliberate about what lands in the end that are sought to be retained.
In its draft EIS, the Army says, quote, loss of the state-owned lands would result in impacts on mission-critical training because the Army would no longer have access to these maneuver areas and infrastructure on state-owned lands. But it also concedes, quote, continued loss of Aina represents a disproportionate and a long-term significant adverse impact on communities with environmental justice concerns.
The draft EIS is pretty much an admission of guilt by the U.S. Army.
Really, we're listening to the comments. We are here to listen, the Army is.
The proposed EIS does not look at the number of years for a potential lease or a dollar amount. That would be negotiated with the state. Live fire training at Mākua stopped in 2004. The only live fire training is at Pohakuloa on Hawaiʻi Island and Oʻahu's Schofield Barracks. The public comment period ends August 7th.
Now, tonight's meeting begins in an hour at the Waianae District Park Multi-Purpose Room. For information about Wednesday and Thursday's meetings, plus a link to the draft EIS, you can go to our website.
Yep. So pay attention to this fight, everybody, because this is a land back kind of fight, right? The Hawaiians are saying that the U.S. military has occupied these precious areas, right, for literal decades at the contemptible sum of just $1 of land lease. Like, and just think about that for a second. The United States government and the United States military, multi-billion, trillion-dollar entities, right, was able to permanently poison and contaminate Hawaii's soil, air, water, wildlife, fauna and fauna, right, for 70 plus years, 100 years, whatever the years, lots of years, decades, multi-decades, multi-generations for $1. That's the value that capitalism actually places on not only human life, but actual life of the globe, of the planet, right? If it's available for them to destroy, then they consider it worthless, right? Or just for the sum of $1. Yeah. So this is where where we get a little interesting here, because you guys know that my latest obsession is like listening to regular folks. And guess what? A lot of activists, organizers are themselves very regular people, and they come to tell the powers that be all about themselves. So, Will, I have 2 clips here. So the 2 clips, Will, let's just run them joints back to back, because as you heard in the package there, because this is happening this week, the week of July 11th, 11th, 12th, 10th, whatever they did, they had the public comment, but they've been having these public comment sessions in Hawaii, these environmental impact statement sessions towards the U.S. Army. I don't know if it's the U.S. Corps of Engineers or if it's the U.S. Army proper. Regardless, They have sent some people around to these listening sessions, and yep, these people have been getting a fucking earful because Hawaiians know what the fuck time it is. Okay, out of all of in America's immediate sphere of influence, right? I'm talking Turtle Island, the continental United States. Then I'm thinking Alaska. Then I'm thinking Puerto Rico and U.S. Virgin Islands and Hawaii. And out of those, isn't Hawaii like the most recent colony? Did Hawaii became a state after Alaska, right? Right. So the Hawaiian people are like them, our brothers and sisters in Guam and American Samoa, like all of them, the Pacific Islanders, like those are kind of like the most recent colonized people in the history of the United States. Is that accurate or inaccurate? Would y'all agree or disagree with that? Right. So they feel that sting way more acutely, right? Because they grandmama and grandpapa or great great grandmama can remember when the fucking Marines came to the island and established the Schofield Barracks in 1908, right? The Marine training barracks. Like, anyway, these folks know what time it is. So anyway, without further ado, let's listen to the Hawaiian folks give their testimony as to why the United States military needs to pack its shit and get the fuck off the islands.
The U.S. military is the greatest threat to life, to the people of Hawaii. No other nation on earth has stolen our land, poisoned our water, and displaced our people at gunpoint. Only you. Only the United States of America. And now you ask us, a population driven into poverty as a result of your policies, our opinion on the renewal of a lease on land that you stole, that you bombed, that you poisoned, and that you refused to pay for the lease of. In honor of our Ohana and White night last night, I ask everyone in this room to stand up if you're against the renewal of this lease. Aloha aina. Aloha aina. Aloha aina. I love you, Uncle Kawa. The only conversation we should be having tonight is to set the timeline for the deoccupation of Kahuku, and to ensure there's a budget created to ensure that every bullet fired and every bomb exploded in this region is cleaned up. You stand here tonight as the representative of a commander-in-chief that is actively committing genocide in the world. The only important thing for you guys to do is to look in the mirror, find your values, and turn in your uniforms. And make sure that you clean up on your way home. Oni pakako.
Run that next one right behind it, Will. Another brother.
I give this gift to the general. That was my testimony. Aloha mai kako. My name is Dimak Kalai Manaore. Aloha aina mau mau. Aloha aina mau mau. I am not American. I will never be an American. So I just want to say this to you guys. I had a prepared speech. I was going to read the last part of my testimony, but I let the brother read them. Here's the deal. If I came to your home and I threw a dirty bomb in your house, you wanted to sell it to you, like sell them to Don, what would be the value to Don to buy your house with that dirty bomb in your yard? What would be the value? There's a woman that just bought a house, a land up on a big island. Big news all over the world. Somebody will make, mistake, build one house on top of her lot. She bought that, I talked to her, she bought that property for the sanctuary that it was because it was a native place. But when they put the house on top there, it was no value to her now. You destroyed the land. And to have the nerve of them to say, well, you gotta pay us now, or give us the land. For the people that perpetrated the wrong over there. These people are criminals just like me. I was a criminal. I did 28 years in the prison system. How much would it be for me to tell my victims what value I'm going to give back to them for what I stole from them? I cannot do that. You would all laugh at me if I gave you a value for what I stole from you. So what value do they have for what they stole from us? We gotta end this. You can either continue to be collaborators with them, or you can come and join us and say no more, we're gonna continue business as usual. There is no value for land destroyed. We want the land back, yes, but not at the expense of us. This is our lands. They belong to us. Give them back. Stop playing games. This is just another delay tactic to continue to stress this out to the end.
Yep.
Don't worry. You know, I
That's
love
true.
you, dog. Every time I call, you come, so I appreciate you. Aloha.
Dirty bottle in her house, not mine. Get you love.
Mahalo for that. Mahalo.
Well, do me a favor. Go ahead and get that YouTube video queued up. Guys, if you guys don't mind, like I do want to play like really like straight off the YouTube a couple of more testimonials from these hearings, because I'm very struck at, you know, the knowledge of not only the history of what the US military and government has done to the Hawaiian people, but like their memories are way long and very sharp. Like the details, like, I mean, obviously, we have a range of folks coming up to testify, from the, you know, extremely articulate and educated to those that can just very plainly say what their families have experienced from their health complications as a result of being exposed to these long-term effects of these munitions, from all of this war games and testing that the military has done. And just for the record, just so I can state this, and y'all already know this shit, I'm gonna say it anyway. One of the biggest drivers of global pollution is war, our bombs, our bullets, our munitions, right? In addition to the horrific genocide and destruction of the Palestinian culture that's happening in Gaza at the behest of the United States, the environmental catastrophes that are going to remain there once the bombs eventually do stop falling, it's going to be enormous and almost incalculable, right? And the Hawaiian people know this, right? Because all the shit that the United States exports in terms of its war, it tested first on their lands, right? So anyway, so go ahead and queue up, Will, the video. Throw me down in a corner and bring that Joan up on the main screen. And let's start at that time code, because these people got up and testified over a number of days this week for, I think these videos are like 4 hours long. And every time I just randomly clicked on a point during the video and listened to the testimony of somebody, it was always brilliant. It was always astute. And I said, well, goddamn, everybody came to the public comment session very well prepared. So I have one that I time coded, but we might just play, we might just click around and find another one. But let's go with this one right here, Will. Let's listen to this Hawaiian letting the US Army know why they do not want the land lease to be extended beyond 2029, and why the US military needs to go altogether.
Aloha ahi ahi kako. O vau o cross makani crab, no wa enai mai au, he pua o ke ia wahino holike, o ka poe o Hawaii. Aloha, my name is Cross Makani Crab, born and raised in Waianae, and I'm here to testify against the renewing of military leases. I would like to share an olelo no eau, or Hawaiian proverb, ho'iho ike ehu mehemoila, returns to the broiling sea like a moi fish, which means people who leave home to get better skills eventually come back. Let me stress, you're not talking to dummies over here, okay? Or degenerates. There are people here, including myself, who have left our home to become more educated, and there are those who have educated themselves from the resources here. And we all gather here today to speak our truth. Our truth is that we have suffered enough. We have suffered enough. For the second draft of your EIS on page 445, section 5, page 27, lines 11 through 14. under unavoidable significant adverse impacts, specifically cultural impacts. You folks state a large new lease would sustain feelings of emotional and psychological distress, as well as an ongoing perception of that their traditional and culturally important land is under an unjust military occupation. This is not just a perception, this is a reality. This is our reality. The military was used to steal our land, our language, and culture. In fact, we are blessed that those before us fought so we could voice our opinions here tonight without fear of being shot or imprisoned. I want to feel bad for you folks having to deal with all of this. I really do, but I cannot. Your institution did this to itself. And it's a legacy that you folks are going to have to decide if you'll be on the right side of history or not. Give the land back and clean up your mess. I call my Uncle Israel Kamakavivo Ole into this space when I say, from West Makaha to Mount Ka'ala, Eola Makua.
Mahalo. Mahalo nui. 125.
Let's listen to one more.
Aloha mai kako. Aloha. Aloha, Colonel Steve. Colonel Steve, right on. O mai kapui hilani ko uinoa no kalihi mai au a ka no hoau I alia pa'akai. Maka au au Red Hill. Aloha. My name is Mai, and I'm originally from Kalihi, far, far away that side, just so you know. It took a lot of effort to come here tonight, but as Papa and Oahualua gave birth to this island, Oʻahu, what happens on one side of the island affects us all. And you need to know that. There are thousands of us on the other side of the island who couldn't be here tonight. So we bring this message together in solidarity to you. I am married to an active duty service member. Our family was poisoned by Red Hill, and we're still being poisoned. So I know intimately of the distrust by the military, and I know it has to stop. But I'm going to focus on the land that is rightfully ours, that needs to be given back. I am in opposition to extending the lease for the military, because I told my husband, I'm a Kanaka Maoli first. I just happen to be married to you. He Hawaii au maua mau. I am Hawaiian now and forever. And I noticed that those 3 parcels of land do not house a single service member or family. I didn't know that there were over 120,000 military service members and their families living on this island alone. According to Uncle, that's more Kanaka Maoli on this island, right? Military representing 11% and Kanaka Maoli is only what, 11, 12? That's got to change. And did you also know that the military make up 20% of the real estate investments in Hawaii? There are way too many military service members here. These areas do not house military service members. The military is unsustainable on our islands. They need to give us back the land, and some of them need to leave. And if it happens in my lifetime, I will be the first one in line with my ohana and my active duty service member to PC us out of here if they tell us for go. Because I know my family will be back. I have kuleana here. But I know it is a pono thing to do to send some military members away. And that is what should happen. Give us back our land, clean it up. Actually, let us clean it up. We'll do a better job. Mahalo. Mahalo nui.
Okay. That's good, Will. And it's 4.5 hours of a lot of that, a lot of reading down to the U.S. Army representatives that were there, to listen to the public commentary from the folks. And, keep in mind, I mean, how Hawaii is under military occupation. Like, make no mistake about it. I guess America made it a state, so the people couldn't say, well, you're not occupied, you guys are citizens. See, citizens, like these darkies, like the rest of the like the blacks over here. See, don't they look happy on the mainland? Don't they look happy? Well, y'all can be happy like that. We'll just make you citizens. You're not under military occupation. Bullshit. listening to the statistics of that person giving testimony, given the amount of real estate investments, not only by the US military outright, but by its service members who either end up staying there or come back to Hawaii and they purchase land, and it's like it's just more foreign, even though it's American, but to the Hawaiians, the Americans are invaders. I appreciate the other brother in the comment saying that, I'm Hawaiian, I'm not American, and I will never be American. And guys, that is actually the spirit that all of us, especially if you are not white out here, you know what I'm saying? The whites historically in America have made it a point to otherize everyone non-white. Even, I mean, yes, I know they otherize themselves, they otherize the Italians, they otherize the Irish. Yes, yes. But eventually the Italians and the Irish got their whiteness and they good, right? So they good. But for everybody else that is visibly non-white, oh no. We need to abandon the moniker of American. And like and even though I refer to myself as American only by nationality and just by of the reason that this is just the place that I just happen to be born. That's why I am an American and will self-refer to as such. But that's just out of laziness and convenience. That's not because I feel particularly American or feel any sort of patriotism or any allegiance to this country in any way. And that is how all non-white people need to be feeling out here. Like, stop pledging your allegiance to a country that continues to do what it can to decimate our communities, that does what it can to undercut us in every opportunity, every chance that non-white people try to advance up the ladder of assimilation into full American identity. The country itself will remind us that no, you are not, right? And let the Hawaiians lead us on this. Number one, I appreciate the way that all the Hawaiian, folks that came up and testified, first gave their comments and introduced themselves in Hawaiian. Don't you guys wish? I wish I had that sort of direct tie to my non-American heritage and culture, that I could come up and address anybody in whatever my original native language was. Like, what a privilege, what a gift Hawaiians have, that they have been able to maintain so much of their culture and are fierce and dogged about maintaining that. So I appreciate that. But make clear, you guys, this is a land back issue, just as it is for our Indigenous brothers and sisters in this country, the First Nations brothers and sisters in Canada, Hawaii, same way. And let us add this to all of the list of places where we need to kick out the US military and its apparatuses off of people's land. As much as the fights against the cop cities are ramping up, rightfully so, because the construction of the cop cities are ramping up. The US military is just the biggest cop city, right? A military base is just, the patriarch, the granddaddy, the big papa of a cop city. And the Hawaiians have been feeling this for generations at this point. So pay attention to this fight, everybody. The lease for the US Army is up on this land in 2029. And this is just the beginning. I mean, first of all, Hawaiians have been resisting for a very, very long time. And I want to look more into the Red Hill poisoning, because I think I've heard of it before. It has to do with the drinking water, if I'm not mistaken. So thanks. I'm gonna put a pin in that, because I do want to look into that environmental justice issue way more deeply and find out what really happened there. But in the interim, y'all, it's not just a black fight. It's not just a Palestinian fight out here. It's not just a First Nations people fight. We all getting oppressed. We all getting marginalized. We're all being poisoned in the name of democracy. I'm sorry, do these Native Hawaiians, going back to one of our recurring rhetorical questions here, I'm sorry, do you think Hawaiians ever think that they have ever had democracy? Ever? Ever? Since the crackers invaded? In the late 1800s, you think people who are of original Hawaiian descent, you think these people have ever experienced democracy? You think that the democracy that Joe Biden talks about us fighting for, us trying to wrestle democracy away from Trump and make sure it stays in quote democratic hands while the people of Oahu and the other islands have been poisoned, have had their lands poisoned, their water poisoned? Is that the democracy that I'm supposed to be fighting for? Is that the democracy I'm supposed to be voting for Joe Biden for? So the US Army can continue to poison folks for $1? What? No, miss me. This ain't democracy, beloveds. If you were non-white and woman and gay, guess what? You never had it. Never been yours. Never felt it. Never experienced it. And this ain't the democracy that I'm willing to fight to preserve, especially in the name of Joe fucking Biden. You must be out your rabbit ass mind. Anyway, land back, land back, land back.